All right, welcome to this class. This is my opening forum post. I'm going to try to make one of these a week. I also hope that we'll be able to meet with one another using teleconferencing technology. We'll try to get that sorted out over the course of this week. First of all, welcome to class. My name is Ken Hicks. I'm the department head for History and Political Science, and I've been teaching here since fall of 1999. I wanted to take a moment to kind of explain what we're looking at through the forum assignments and how that kind of interacts with some of the other assignments. Um, First of all, I've assigned each of you to a group. I'm going to read them off real quick. Group 1 is also Group Blue. Miss Bell, Oliver Gibson, Maggie Joyner, Victoria Pauley, Jonathan Soto, and Andrea Wright are in that group. In Group 2, it consists of Aubrey Carlson, Cassidy Hamlet, Matthew Kelly, Jessica Sabin, and Brittany Thomas. And that's Group Green. Group Red is Tyler Catrone, Madison Hicks, Seth Palmer, Madeline Shambles, and Braylon Wani, and that's Group Red. And then Group Orange, Group 4, is Michael Fullingham, Christopher Holland, Trathway Pham, Gillian Skalecki, and Charles Willis. Now, each of these groups, the point of it is basically to try and encourage you guys to collaborate and to help one another study. So one of the big things in the reading assignment is that each week, one group or each group is going to submit some portion of the study guide. And the study guides are color coded. So each of the colors that you see, that's the portion of the study guide that you need to work through. So if you see that each study guide is organized into separate sections, you'll have concept identification, where I want you to be able to define the term and explain why it's important for understanding American government. And then the next section is short answers. So I want you to figure out like paragraph length responses that analyze a particular question or issue. And then objective, which are basically, again, multiple choice questions where you just identify the correct responses. So I want each group to submit a portion of the study guide, right? Now you're responsible for all the study guide, right? But this is the part for the homework where you need to submit it. And there's a drop box in that reading section for each week, okay? And there are multiple study guides for most of the weeks, or for all the weeks, I believe. So you're going to have to do two files for each week, all right? I want you all to, interact with one another, get your information to one another, to each of the group members. It's important for you fairly early on this week to identify a group leader. Now, there are a number of ways of doing this. You could rotate leadership. Each week a different member of the group, decides to take on the leadership responsibilities. Or if somebody is particularly adept and feels like they need to be in leadership, you can do it that way as well. You can have an election and elect from one another. The point of being a leader is you're going to be the ones communicating with the groups, with the rest of your group members. You're going to be, trying to lead them in terms of, what amount of work should each member be responsible for getting that work from them and getting it all put into a single format, and then getting it over into the Dropbox. So it's not that onerous. I would also encourage those of you who become group members, get to know the other leaders of the other groups, because you guys can interact and identify ways of problem solving. So that's also very important and desirable. The forums are again designed to be like a week-long virtual classroom, right? So your job is basically to read the material, demonstrate to me that you've read the material and you understand it. And there are a number of ways of doing that. So you actually have what is known as a post-by requirement. You have to post no later than Tuesday at 11:55 in the evening. So you've got, from now until Tuesday at midnight effectively to make that initial post. And in that time, I expect you to at least, kind of skim the material and get an idea of what the important issues are. Now, again, for each week, you're looking at 2 chapters most of the time. The only chapter or the only week where there isn't multiple chapters is week 3, which is dealing with probably one of the most, you know, complex chapters, which is on civil rights and civil liberties. There's a lot of Supreme Court cases, a lot of issues that you've got to address. So each week you need to make that initial post. And in that post, again, what I'm looking at is for you to show me that you've read the material and that you're thinking critically about it. So how do you do that? Well, you could just try to summarize the material in the 2 chapters. That's generally going to be very labor intensive, right? Or you can come up with a set of 2 or 3 questions. So, why is this the way it is? Why has trust in American government declined among Americans? What factors have contributed to profound demographic change? Why are so many Americans so hostile to immigrants? Those are the kinds of questions that, again, what's the value of that? First of all, you're showing me that you're looking at the material, and you're getting an idea of why government is hard, right? This is not an easy thing to do, to govern a very fractious country with over 320 million people. This week's reading, you're going to deal with chapter 1 and chapter 2. Chapter 1, again, is sort of the introduction to the course. What does citizenship mean? What does it mean to live in a society that both really prioritizes personal liberty, but also values equality, right? How does that balancing act work, right? Chapter 2 deals with the Constitution and the founding, right? What were the factors that caused us to seek independence from Great Britain? And how did we end up adopting the constitutional structure that we have, which most people look at and say, this is a brilliant document, right? It's a document that basically says we have to balance competing interests and we have to govern consensually in order to govern justly. So, that's really, again, you've got a week to look at these chapters. So once you do your original post, then I want to see you do at least 4 posts replying to one another and interacting with one another. Okay. Now, there's another aspect of the group work, and that is, there's actually 2 aspects of the group work. I want to try to organize on probably Tuesdays and Wednesdays of each week a Zoom teleconference with group members. Okay, so Group Blue hopefully we'll be able to have a meeting either Tuesday or either tomorrow or Wednesday, where we talk a little bit and we get to know one another, and you ask me questions about the course and anything that's confusing you, anything that you're struggling to understand. Okay, and then I'm going to record those Zoom sessions and post that for the rest of the class. Okay, so the Zoom meetings, again, can be, I will probably count that as an aspect of your participation in the forum. Okay, now my argument for again having people make posts throughout the week is that if you just do all your posts on Tuesday and then don't bother with the forum for the rest of the week, then you're not really getting the full learning effect of interacting with your fellow students over the course of that week. Again, I'm not expecting you to sit wrapped and waiting on someone to make a post. I don't expect you to be spending hours checking on the forums. I expect you would spend maybe 15 minutes a day looking at these things. So again, if you're making, if you're either doing all your posts on Tuesday and then ignoring it, or if you're waiting until Sunday and doing everything then, you're not going to get really the full interactive value of having participated over the course of the week in a discussion of the assigned material. Okay, so there's a couple of components here. First of all, you have to read the material in order to discuss it knowledgeably. Secondly, you have to be kind of up on current events, right? And then thirdly, you have to interact with one another, right? So that's really what the whole point of these forums is. Okay. Um, Obviously, we're taking, this course in the midst of really tumultuous times. We're in the midst of a pandemic, and the economic distress that has caused. Unemployment is running around 15% right now, which is really bad, historically bad. And then we also are sitting in the midst of tremendous social unrest as a result of the murder of an African American man in a northern Midwestern city in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, uh, and the resulting kind of nationwide and really worldwide protests over racism and police brutality. And as a result, now you're getting calls to defund police departments. And again, all of these things focus our attention on, what does it mean to govern? How do we govern effectively, right? So again, I hope that this video will kind of give you some guidance in terms of what I'm looking at, and I hope that you're able to learn a lot over the course of this semester. Again, like I said, I'm going to try to post more of these videos at the start of each week's forum, and hopefully you'll find them useful.